Valley lies in the Italian Midland, some 60 miles northwest of Naples to some 40 miles southeast of Rome. A wide, flat corridor enclosed between four walls of mountains. In winter, the highest peaks of the Liri Range ascend into the snows, but the valley floor with its olive groves and ancient vines, its crops of wheat and corn, is green the year around. That is, in normal times. Last year was a bad year for grapes and olives, and the fall planting was late. Many fields lay fallow. There are two ways from the south into the valley. One, a narrow path. The other, a high, scenic road over the mountains. They converge before the site of the ancient village of San Pietro, which for 700 years has stood at the threshold of Liri Valley, welcoming the traveler. The stones of its walls were quarried out of the parent hill from whose slopes it rises. Population 1,412 at the last census. A farming community. Patron St. Peter. Point of interest, St. Peter's, 1438. Note interesting treatment of chancel. As St. Peter's was erected by those who were to worship there, so each original dwelling was built by the ones who were to live there. And this practice has endured down through the centuries. The Italian peasant is a born mason. He cuts and lays and mortars in the stone with great skill and patience, building not for himself alone, but for future generations. From the end of October 1943 until the middle of December, San Pietro and the surrounding ground was the scene of some of the bitterest fighting on our Fifth Army front. The Italian campaign had entered its second phase, to push forward again after a static period brought on by heavy seasonal rains. Our battle lines were haphazard as the terrain itself, with its flood-swollen rivers that twisted back and forth across our line of march, so that each river seemed like five, and where there was no river to cross, a mountain blocked our going. Each peak ahead being a few meters higher than the last we had won, so that each new peak had to be fought for the hard, uphill way, with the enemy looking down our throats. They had had time to fortify and camouflage their positions. No amount of artillery fire or aerial bombardment could force them to withdraw. That was for the infantry to do, employing those weapons to confine and destroy life in narrow trenches, caves, and fighting holes. It was up to the man with the rifle, the man under fire from all weapons, the man whose way all our weapons, land, air, and sea, serve only to prepare. It was up to the foot soldier to attack a hidden enemy over ground that was sown with mines, the anti-personnel S-mines that fly up at a football to explode beneath the groin. Nowhere along the entire front were enemy preparations more elaborate than in the San Pietro area. For San Pietro stands at the threshold of Liri Valley, and through Liri Valley, wide and level, runs the most highly prized length of road south of Rome. By early December, we had taken and were holding high ground in the northeast, east, and south of San Pietro, the Camino Maggiore hill mass being last to fall. Italian troops under Allied command had made a vain attempt to capture Mount Lungo, possession of which would have acted greatly to our benefit in the impending action. But so excessive were the losses on Mount Lungo that further operations against its strategic heights were deemed unwarranted. Was thereon determined to make a direct frontal assault on enemy positions around and within San Pietro. But battalions of the 36th Texas Infantry Division were rotated from position to position overlooking the valley, so the troops might study the terrain ahead from various viewpoints. Patrol activity was continuous. Day and night, units went out to reconnoiter the ground, draw fire, take prisoners, thus adding to the sum of our information about the enemy. High points, Mount Lungo's 351 and Mount Sinukro's 1205 and 950 were all manned in force. The town itself was strongly garrisoned with numerous mortar, machine gun, and heavy weapon emplacements. 4 enemy battalions were dug into a line of connecting trenches and mutually supporting pillboxes in depth that extended from the base of Mount Lungo, northeast across the valley floor to the base of Mount Sinukro. Another battalion was organized to defend the high ground northwest of San Pietro. Areas before these positions were heavily mined and held a confusion of barbed wire and booby traps. On the afternoon before, D-Day and H-Hour were communicated to battalion commanders. December 8th, at 0620 hours, the 1st Battalion of the 143rd Infantry Regiment to attack the summit of 1205, having moved up the mountain under cover of darkness, and upon achieving its objective to attack along the ridge to a point northwest of San Pietro. The 3rd Ranger Battalion likewise to attack 950, another feature of the Mount Sinukro hill mass. The 2nd Battalion of the 143rd to attack over the terraced olive orchards northeast of San Pietro. The 3rd Battalion acting in support to follow the 2nd at 400 yards. Of the original force to establish the beachhead of Salerno, the 143rd had since spent all but a fortnight in action under extremely bitter weather conditions. At Salerno, at the Volturno crossing, it had taken mortal punishment. The task ahead promised no less bloodshed, yet it was undertaken in good spirits and high confidence. The 1st Battalion began the long, rugged climb up Mount Sinukro. As night fell, our artillery opened up, and throughout the night hours, intense fire was laid down on the enemy's main line of resistance. It had rained most of the night, and it was raining at H-Hour when the 2nd and 3rd Battalions crossed the line of departure. Some 200 yards forward, they encountered wire, mines, and automatic fire from pillboxes. Mortar and artillery were deadly accurate by reason of excellent enemy observation from Mount Lungo, overlooking our advance, which continued another 200 to 400 yards. Many men gave their lives in attempts to jump the wire, reach pillboxes, and throw hand grenades through the narrow gun openings. The 3rd Battalion was committed. The advance never got more than 600 yards past the line of departure. Our initial assault on San Pietro had been repulsed with heavy casualties. The attack on Hill 1205, however, was a brilliant success. Leading elements of the 1st Battalion had gained the summit of the objective before a strongly entrenched enemy knew that an assault was in progress. To the right of 1205, the 3rd Ranger Battalion had also captured its objective, but only after successive attacks and costly casualties. For on Hill 950, the enemy was not taken unaware. Counterattacks were to be expected on both 1205 and 950. They were not long developing. Launched during the early daylight hours, and even as it was beaten off, another took form. Day and night they followed in unremitting violence. The toll of enemy dead mounted with each new attempt. The German prisoners captured on 1205 and 950 said that they had been ordered to retake those positions at all costs. Acting in excellent cooperation, the artillery's supporting power disrupted numerous enemy counterattacks while they were in the process of being formed. In addition to defending Hill 1205, the 1st Battalion, obedient to the field order, undertook the reduction of enemy defenses which were organized along the ridge running west. December, the 1st Battalion was reinforced for the 504th Parachute Battalion, which took over and maintained the defenses of 1205 and 950, thereby enabling the 1st Battalion to throw its entire remaining strength into the assault along the ridge. But the first strength had dwindled and shrunk in the 5 days past, and there was now a question as to whether its existing numbers were sufficient to prevail. Reports during the night of the 14th of December stated that the enemy was offering bitter resistance and that the issue was in grave doubt. Meanwhile, on the olive terraces below, the 2nd and 3rd Battalion had twice again attempted to reach their objective. Both times they had come up against a wall of automatic weapon, mortar, and artillery fire. Volunteer patrols made desperate attempts to reach enemy positions and reduce strong points. Not a single member of any such patrol ever came back alive. Our attacking forces were furnished excellent aerial cover by Allied fighter patrols. But now and then, enemy planes were able to slip through and to bomb and strafe our position, which to all purposes had remained unchanged since the first day. To break the deadlock, orders were given for a coordinated divisional attack. The 2nd and 3rd Battalions of the 143rd to proceed in the execution of the original orders. Acting in conjunction, Company A of the 753rd Tank Battalion to attack San Pietro from the east over the high road. 1 battalion of the 141st to attack over the flat valley floor. After nightfall on D-Day, the 142nd Infantry Regiment to attack the heights of Mount Lungo. In preparation for the attack, all 5th Army artillery within range, including tanks and all tracks, was directed against San Pietro and the surrounding area. Hour, 1200 hours. D-Day, the 15th of December. The 141st Infantry advanced some 400 yards from its line of departure, to be borne down and held powerless under the weight of enemy fire. The 2nd and 3rd Battalions of the 143rd advanced some 100 yards beyond their former positions to a point almost directly before forward enemy defenses. And for the 3rd time, they were forced to take such cover as the quaking earth could offer. And the tanks. Orders were for them to enter the town and to locate and destroy the heavy weapons there, which were leveled against our attacking foot soldiers. The high road into San Pietro was a narrow mountain road, and from the beginning of its winding descent into Liri Valley, it was under direct enemy observation. Tanks started down that road. Three reached the outskirts of the town. Of these, 2 were destroyed, and 1 was missing. 5 tanks were immobilized behind enemy lines, their crews having to abandon them. 5 tanks hit mines within our lines, were thereupon destroyed by enemy gunfire. 4 tanks returned to the bivouac area. After dark, 2 companies, 1 from the 2nd Battalion and 1 from the 3rd, finally succeeded in penetrating enemy positions before San Pietro. But receiving both frontal and flanking fire, they were forced to retire. Company E having been reduced in strength to 8 riflemen, and Company L faring little better. On the Mount Samocro Ridge, the 1st Battalion fought its way to within a few hundred yards of the objective. But it had paid for ground gained at the rate of a man a yard, and it did not have strength to carry the fight any further forward. On Mount Lungo, however, despite bitter resistance, battalions of the 142nd in successive waves kept pushing upward. Until in the early daylight hours of the 16th of December, its foot soldiers had gained the summit and were wiping up what remained of a stubborn enemy. And that height proved to be a key position in the enemy plan of defense. For even as Mount Lungo fell, the enemy throughout the San Pietro area made preparations to withdraw. Almost invariably, the enemy will counterattack to cover the withdrawal. The first violent thrust was delivered within a few hours. And thereafter, counterattacks came in waves, the roar of the last mingling with the rush and fury of the next to break. Many companies lost all their officers. Enlisted men came forward as inspirational leaders to rally their battered companies into resisting yet one more onslaught. Our own artillery was brought to fall within 100 yards of our front line elements. After 5 hours, during which the earth never ceased to tremble, counterattacks ended, indicating that the withdrawal of the enemy's main body had commenced. In an effort to maintain contact, our patrols immediately pushed ahead. Entering the town, they discovered that San Pietro was ours for the taking. The 2nd and 3rd battalions, less than a rifle company in strength, weary to death who were alive, stumbled forward past San Pietro to consolidate gains and reestablish contact with the enemy, now taking up new positions some 5 kilometers beyond. That is the broad shape of the Battle of San Pietro, which was but the first of many battles in Liri Valley. It was a very costly battle. After the battle, the 143rd Infantry Regiment alone required 1,100 replacements. The lives lost were precious lives. To their country, to their loved ones, and to the men themselves. For the living of the 143rd Infantry Regiment, more than 100 decorations for acts of valor above and beyond the call of duty. Many among these you see alive here have since joined the ranks of their brothers in arms who fell at San Pietro. For ahead lay San Pietro and the Rapido River and Casino, and beyond Casino more rivers and more mountains and more towns, more San Pietros, greater or lesser, 1,000 more. As the battle passed over and beyond San Pietro, westward, townspeople began to appear, coming out of their caves in the mountains, where they had stayed in hiding during the enemy occupation. Mostly old people and children. Living was resumed in San Pietro. Children are able to forget quickly. Yesterday they wept. Today there are smiles and even laughter. Tomorrow it will be as though the bad things had never happened. Our prime military aim being to engage and defeat the enemy, the capture of the town itself and the liberation of its people is of an incidental nature. But the people, in their military innocence, look upon us solely as their deliverers. It was to free them and their farmlands that we came. Behind our lines, southwest to the sea, the fields are green with growing crops planted after our coming by other people of other towns who believe likewise. The new won earth of San Pietro was plowed and sown. It should yield a good harvest this year. And the people prayed to their patron saint to intercede with God in behalf of those who came, delivered them, and passed on to the north with the passing battle.
In 1940, Donald Kingaby was a sergeant in the Royal Air Force Volunteer Reserve and a fighter pilot in a Spitfire. Today, he writes technical manuals. He lives with his wife and 3 children in London.
After the fall of France, I thought we were in for trouble, big trouble. That Winston Churchill's spirit had its effect on all of us. We knew that we were going to carry on, that we would fight hard, and that somehow we would win.
In 1940, Harry Siegert was a sergeant in the German Luftwaffe and a recent graduate of a bomber school. A former resident of Berlin, Germany, he works today in Los Angeles as a supervisor of computer systems.
My boyhood dream was to fly. It was for me the most beautiful and gratifying experience. Too bad it had to be through war. By the time the war ended, my wounds made flying for me impossible forever. Now I get a feeling of speed and excitement from my boat.
In the skies over war-torn Britain, the lives of Sergeants Kingaby and Siegert will cross. Two fighting men, one British, one German, relive that moment in history. I'm Jim Bishop. In the summer of 1940, Adolf Hitler has Europe under his heel. He turns to Great Britain. The English stand alone. The German government makes it clear that surrender terms will not be harsh. But Churchill replies that the British will fight on the beaches, in the villages, and in the fields. Hitler orders his chiefs of staff to complete work on Operation Sea Lion, a detailed plan for the invasion of England. The Battle of Britain has begun. German invasion plans are contingent on the elimination of the RAF from the skies and the Royal Navy from the Channel. The German Air Minister, Reichsmarshal Hermann Goering, is instructed to plan for the air battles that will decide the fate of England. Hitler hopes that this air operation will force the British to use up their fighter strength prematurely and weaken them for any big offensive that might be launched later. By July, 1,500 German bombers and over 1,000 fighters are concentrated within easy flying distance of the United Kingdom. One of the German airmen who will carry out Goering's orders is Sergeant Harry Siegert, stationed with a bomber squadron near Reims, France.
I would truly like to find a fighting man who isn't afraid of dying. We may feel that we can win the war, but we also know that there can be no victory without suffering and loss of life.
The situation for the British at this moment might well seem hopeless. The first line of defense are the Hurricanes and Spitfires under the command of Air Chief Marshal Sir Hugh Dowding. One airman of the handful his country depends upon is Sergeant Donald Kingaby. He is based with the 266th Squadron at Wittering, Tangmere, and Hornchurch.
When I'm flying, I carry a mascot. It's a rabbit's foot. I've had that rabbit's foot with me on every sortie I've flown so far. It is difficult to say how one reacts to the death of a close friend. Certainly one becomes more bitter towards the enemy and more determined to see the thing through, but I try not to let it affect my feelings for long.
No obstacles are allowed to stand in the way of aircraft production, yet the RAF's operational strength, down to 331 planes after Dunkirk, is now only 620. The RAF's operational strength is increased by a chain of radar stations around the coast. But in other ways as well, Britain is preparing for the inevitable conflict.
Seems to me that we're taking a bit of a beating. I wonder how long we can keep it up. Will we go on fighting in this way for months and months? There are times when I wonder whether we will see it through.
We wonder what the barrage balloons are good for. It is easy to get around them, but if the weather is bad, there's always the chance of running into the cables. I can't say that I have any feelings about the people down there. I can't say that I feel sorry. I'm too busy flying my machine. All I think about is reaching the target. I'm not over here to kill. I'm over here to do the best I can for Germany.
By the end of July, Britain still dominates the skies, although they have been forced to cancel all sailings through the channel during daylight.
I think the German pilots as a whole are most confident and experienced. People say that we break their formations up quickly. This isn't quite so. The Germans fight to the best of their ability as long as their fuel allows them to stay over our territory. I'm talking mainly about the fighter pilots. I have a feeling that the bomber crews are more regimented and depend entirely on their leader. When he's knocked out, there seems to be a lack of cohesion amongst the remainder of their formation. They tend to scatter and make themselves more vulnerable.
We don't underestimate the English pilot. He is well trained and has a lot of fighting spirit. But I think our flying ability really surprises them.
Craft often weave into airy, intriguing patterns. If we can, we fly just below the height at which they form so that we won't betray our position to the enemy.
Our only defense against the enemy fighter plane are our 3 machine guns. They aim for the cockpit and wings, hoping to set the plane on fire.
In a dogfight, it's the devil of a job to control your own excitement and apprehension so that you think and fly correctly. You don't think much about the chap in the other plane. You weave, twist and turn to guard your own tail and wonder how long you dare fly straight and steady enough to shoot your target down. You can lose a lot of weight in a dogfight in a very short time.
By August, Goering estimates that he needs only 4 days to put the English fighter planes out of action. He begins the preparation of Adlertag, or the Eagle attack, an operation intended as the knockout blow to the RAF. It is decided that the attack will commence on August 13th. For the first time in history, a great campaign is going to be fought and decided in the air.
We generally start our morning flights about 4 a.m. By the time we have breakfast, the planes have been serviced. We wonder if today we will have fighter escort and how long they will stay with us. Over England, we always have to fight low clouds. We do a lot of instrument flying.
Of the bad weather and unexpected opposition, they managed to hit airdromes, dockyards, and aircraft factories. But in the process, they lose 45 of their aircraft against a British loss of only 13. 2 days later, on August 15th, Goering again puts his squadrons in the air. He hopes that the heavy fighting of the 13th has so severely depleted the RAF that gaps will be left in their defenses. On this day, the Luftwaffe has made its biggest effort, nearly 1,800 sorties. They had expected an all-out victory. Instead, Adlertag is a failure. After a brief lull due to bad weather, the Luftwaffe again attacks with renewed vigor. For the British, the situation is becoming daily more serious. They are still shooting down more enemy planes than they themselves lose, but the margin is not a big one. They have now come to a point where the loss of a single plane, the death or wounding of one pilot, represents an important setback. In London and throughout all of England, the outcome of each day's battle is awaited with intense concern. The Germans continue to hammer away at the sector stations, the nerve centers of the RAF command. The repair and maintenance squadrons do their best with the overused aircraft, but it is the loss in pilots that is irreparable. Fighter command strength had stood at 1,400 pilots at the end of July. 3 weeks later, it has fallen to 1,000. Slowly, the pilot forces are being bled to death. Slowly, the communication systems and airfields are being battered to bits. Slowly, the pilot reserves are reaching dangerous lows. Now the question is, how much longer can fighter command hold out? How much longer before the Luftwaffe deals its final crushing blow? At this moment, when things are at their darkest, an incident occurs that causes a dramatic change in the German plans. At the moment when the fortunes of war seem to be tilting slowly but inexorably in favor of the Germans, something happens which sets off a train of events that alters the whole course of the war. On August 24th, 200 German bombers are sent to attack targets in widely separated parts of England and Wales. The pilots do not have orders to bomb London, but, in fact, bombs are dropped on the city.
Accidental bombing? Of course, anything is possible. But I do not think that any pilot in the German Air Force would do such a thing. Considering our military discipline, I can't believe it.
Whether this bombing is due to faulty navigation, inexperience, or irresponsibility is not known. But the fact remains, London has been bombed. British bombers are immediately ordered on a retaliatory raid to bomb Berlin the following night. The effect of this raid on Hitler is out of all proportion to the damage done. He has boasted that bombs would never be dropped on Berlin. In a speech on September 4th, he swears devastating reprisals. If they attack our cities, we will rub their cities from the map. Thus, the Luftwaffe is obliged to switch the offensive from the RAF to the city of London. Hitler believes that a prolonged bombing of London will cause panic and mass hysteria among the population. But the result is that attacks are lifted from the airfields and sector stations at a crucial moment. In this breathing space, the RAF is able to repair the damage done on their facilities and equipment, and to take the pressure off their fighter pilots. One more week of attacks might have led to disaster. Now there is time for the RAF to reconsolidate its forces. Late in the afternoon of Saturday, September 7th, this new phase of German strategy is launched. From a forward air base, Goering himself watches the flights take off toward the English coast. It is a time chosen to catch the English workers on their way home. 300 tons of high explosives and many thousands of incendiaries are dropped on London within an hour and a half. loaded in this raid cannot be put out before more bombers arrive later that night with another load. Between 5 o'clock on this Saturday evening and 3 o'clock the following morning, German bombs killed 1,000 Londoners. Goering is prompted to announce on the German radio, "This is an historic hour. Our Air Force has delivered its thrust right into the enemy's heart." It is true, London's heart has been damaged, but it has not stopped beating. It is felt that because of the size of this raid, the German invasion is imminent. Still, the first requirement for a successful invasion has not been met. Fighter command has not been defeated. Hitler decides to await the outcome of the next few days. The outcome is that fewer than half the German bombers succeed in dropping their bombs. Hitler, still hoping that the British will crumble under the repeated air attacks on their capital, again postpones his decision to invade. He has been assured that air supremacy is almost within his grasp. A victory must be forced with no more delay. Goering picks Sunday, September 15th as the day of reckoning. The morning of September 15th turns out to be ideal flying weather. At about 10:30 a.m., the radar warning system picks up enemy planes gathering over the French coast. To the waiting English pilots, the German armadas appear to stretch from horizon to horizon. After the first attack by the British planes, the mighty formations begin to lose cohesion.
Every single aircraft is engaged, and there is nothing left on the ground in the way of reserves. But the Luftwaffe is taking a beating. They aren't getting away scot-free.
We keep on firing as the fighters close in. We shoot back with everything we have.
This great battle, which was to have crushed fighter command, proves instead a shattering blow to the German airmen. The Luftwaffe has been routed. Again, the gamble is lost. On September 17th, Hitler postpones Operation Sea Lion until further notice.
I had a plane loaded with paratroops, all crack troops, veterans of Rotterdam. The invasion being cancelled is a big disappointment to all of us.
But the British cannot know the extent of their victory, for a new phase of the battle has begun. The German Luftwaffe has set out with vengeance to destroy London. Night after night until well in November, London is bombed unmercifully. After 57 days of consecutive bombardment, London proves she can take it. By November, the night raids are expanded to include the industrial cities of Britain. Coventry is viciously attacked on November 14th, as are Bristol, Southampton, and Liverpool.
We are hit. I call to the rest of the crew for damage reports. No one answers. The machine will not react. It's hard to fly.
The Blitz will continue well into May 1941. Then it will cease as suddenly as it has begun. Sergeant Harry Siegert, after being hit over Coventry, is shot down by a Spitfire over the Channel. He will spend many weeks in a German hospital. Later, he fights at Stalingrad and the Battle of the Bulge, and is captured by the Russians in 1945. Sergeant Donald Kingaby pilots numerous missions for the Royal Air Force and is credited with 23 enemy aircraft brought down. During the Battle of Britain, the Luftwaffe lost over 2,300 aircraft. The British lost 600 fighters. The citizens of Britain paid an even greater price. So concludes history's last great air duels.